Naomi Harris, a black woman in her 40s, is the embodiment of success and resilience. As an internationally renowned entrepreneur, she has built an empire in the finance and technology industries, becoming a pioneer in fields historically dominated by white men. Coming from a modest background, Naomi grew up with parents who instilled in her the importance of education and hard work. She paved her way through racial and economic obstacles to found Harris Global Solutions, a thriving company that is revolutionizing how businesses manage their finances and leverage technology. Her success is built on her genius for anticipating market trends, but also on her passion for giving back to the community. Naomi is particularly committed to creating opportunities for young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, convinced that everyone deserves a chance to succeed. She has launched several initiatives, offering scholarships and mentorship programs, in partnership with universities and organizations around the world. One day, after a long flight between London and New York, Naomi Harris arrives at one of her buildings for a crucial meeting with international investors. Tired but determined, she decides not to change after the journey and shows up dressed casually. A simple sweater, comfortable pants, and sneakers. The building, of which she is the owner, is a modern masterpiece with glass walls and white marble floors. As she waits for the elevator in the sleek, minimalist lobby, she relaxes for a moment, reflecting on the stakes of the upcoming meeting. Suddenly, a young white employee from the building, recently hired and visibly nervous, approaches her. Without an introduction, he hands Naomi a bucket and a mop, likely assuming she is a cleaner who has come to clean the lobby. He does not recognize her and does not take the time to verify her identity. "That corner over there needs a good mop," he says curtly, pointing to an imaginary stain on the immaculate floor. Naomi, surprised by the interaction, calmly looks at the bucket and then at the young man. Her years of experience in the business world have taught her to keep her composure, even in the face of blatant discrimination. Naomi, stunned and almost amused by the audacity of the situation, makes a bold decision. Instead of reacting or revealing herself, she decides to play along. She calmly takes the bucket and mop and begins cleaning the floor as instructed. Around her, the employees, accustomed to seeing black cleaners in the building, find nothing strange about the scene. Some whisper, others exchange looks of disdain or indifference, without ever considering that she could be anything other than a cleaning staff member. Naomi continues to mop the spotless floor, focused on her movements, while discreetly observing the reactions around her. As the scene unfolds, a crowd begins to form. The executives and junior employees, unaware of her identity, watch the scene without the slightest idea that they are in the presence of the building's owner. Some whisper mockingly, and condescending glances multiply. But Naomi, unflappable, remains calm. She recalls her journey, all the time she had to face similar prejudices. Her success has never immunized her from such behavior, and today, despite her status, she is still facing the same discrimination. But this time, she decides to let the situation unfold naturally, curious to see how far the onlookers will go before the truth is revealed. As she cleans under the watchful eyes of everyone, the young employee who gave her the mop returns to her. Proud of what he thinks is a job well done, he says, in a condescending tone. "Thank you, you can now clean the conference room before the big bosses arrive. They can't see any mess." Naomi looks up at the young employee, a slight smile playing on her lips, then nods silently. She gently sets the mop down and, without a word, heads toward the conference room the young man indicated. He has no idea that she is the big boss he is trying to impress by ordering the cleaning of every corner. As she enters the conference room, the voices in the lobby begin to rise. Some employees are amused by the scene, others remain indifferent, but no one suspects the identity of the woman they had judged so quickly. Naomi, however, remains unfazed, focused on what matters, the crucial meeting ahead and the importance of this day for her business. Moments later, the elevator doors opened with a sharp sound. A man in his 50s, elegant in a tailored suit, stepped out briskly. It was Henry Collins, one of the senior executives at Harris Global Solutions, and the one who was supposed to greet Naomi for the important meeting with investors. When he saw Naomi crouched with a cloth in the conference room, his eyes widened in disbelief. He rushed toward her, his face betraying panic and embarrassment. "Ms. Harris, "I'm so sorry," he exclaimed in a trembling voice, under the shocked gaze of the employees who had just realized that the woman they had ignored or mocked was, in fact, the owner of the building and their superior. The silence in the lobby became heavy, oppressive. All eyes turned to Naomi. The young employee who had handed her the mop turned pale. He mumbled incoherent apologies, his hands trembling in panic. But Naomi, with unparalleled elegance, slowly stood up, calmly placing the cloth on the table in the conference room. She turned her back to the gathering, her face impassive and majestic. Without raising her voice, she said, with a peaceful smile, "Now that everything is clean, let's get down to business." The room remained frozen, mouths agape, as Naomi, serene, nodded at Henry to invite him to join her in the room. As she sat at the head of the conference table, ready to lead the meeting with investors, the young employee, devastated, remained frozen in the lobby. Naomi, still calm and dignified, did not need to raise her voice to show her superiority. She had chosen to respond to the discrimination with an act of grace and mastery, proving once again that her success was not only due to her business acumen but also her strength of character. The young employee, Lucas, sat in the meeting room, his hands sweaty, his heart racing. He had been summoned by his superior after the humiliating incident, and the apprehension was eating him up. He knew he had made a monumental mistake, but his pride had prevented him from apologizing directly to Naomi. Instead, he had tried to justify himself, downplaying the impact of his words, relying on his status as a new employee to explain his behavior. "Lucas," began his superior, casting a stern look at him, "Naomi Harris deserves to be treated with the respect she merits. I advise you to reflect on how you perceive your colleagues in the future." Lucas nodded, his voice caught in his throat. He knew he had to apologize, but shame paralyzed him. He imagined the moment when he would have to face Naomi, the woman he had humiliated. His thoughts were tormented by the idea that she might never forgive him. Meanwhile, Naomi focused on the meeting. The investors were impressed by her confidence and expertise, but deep down, she couldn't forget the incident. Even though she had handled the situation with grace, part of her wondered if the young man, Lucas, would ever realize the depth of his mistake and the impact of his actions. After the meeting, as the investors left the room, Naomi stood up and headed for the exit. Henry Collins, her senior executive, caught up with her. "Naomi, I'm sorry for what happened. You deserve so much better than that," he said sincerely. She smiled at him, grateful for his support. "Thank you, Henry. But I believe it's important to give people a chance to understand their mistakes. It's an opportunity for Lucas to learn." "You're truly amazing," he replied, admiring her calm in the face of adversity. Naomi left the building and headed to her office, her mind occupied with thoughts of Lucas. As an entrepreneur and mentor, she knew that everyone had the potential to change, but only if they were willing to do so. That evening, as she prepared for dinner, she made a decision. She had to help Lucas redeem himself. The next day, Naomi asked Henry to summon Lucas to her office. When he entered, Lucas looked nervous, his hands still sweaty and his face pale. He stopped in front of her desk, unable to meet her gaze. "Hello, Lucas. Please, sit down," Naomi invited calmly. Lucas obeyed, his mouth dry. I'm really sorry for yesterday. I didn't mean to disrespect you." Naomi studied him for a moment, her sharp eyes examining the young man. "I believe you need to understand what you did and why it is unacceptable. The way you treated me is a reflection of biases that many people carry. This isn't just about me, Lucas. It affects the way we interact every day." He nodded, aware of the truth in her words. "I understand. I don't know what came over me. I'm sorry. I feel so bad." Touched by his sincerity, Naomi decided to give him a chance to redeem himself. "I appreciate your apology. I believe in redemption. I'd like you to join our mentorship program. Let's work together to create opportunities for young people like you, but also to help you understand the challenges others face. It will help you learn and grow." Lucas's eyes widened in disbelief. "You really want me to do that?" "Yes," she replied confidently. It's time to turn this experience into something positive. I want you to realize your potential and become an ally for those who, like me, fight against prejudice. Overwhelmed with emotion, Lucas stood up and said in a trembling voice, "Thank you, Naomi. I'll do my best. I'm ready to learn." Naomi smiled at him, acknowledging his willingness to change. "I know you will. Let's work together to create a better future." Thus, Naomi Harris's legacy is not limited to her professional achievements, but extends to the impact she has on those around her. By fostering an environment of learning and mutual respect, she paves the way for a future where everyone has an equal chance to succeed, no matter where they come from. It is this vision of a better world, based on collaboration and support, that will continue to inspire future generations.